Hi guys, glad you're watching my channel. Can you subscribe and share please onto all your other social media platforms. This podcast is called Mother's Nature, Why Mothers Run Away with Their Children, a deep dive investigation. Introduction. There is a dominant story we are told about mothers who run away with their children. They are described as unstable, dangerous, or acting irrationally. This episode asks a different question. What if these mothers are not acting on impulse, but on foreknowledge? So if you've been following my channel, you will know that I did a podcast called They Knew: Power, Foreknowledge and the Destruction of Mothers in Family Court. This one is the mothers that run, so they're not acting on impulse. Maybe they have foreknowledge too. Foreknowledge of how the family court system works. Foreknowledge of what happens once proceedings begin. Foreknowledge that once the system intervenes, they may permanently lose the ability to protect their children. This programme is not about encouraging anyone to break the law. It is not about blaming individuals. It is a public interest investigation into patterns, structures and outcomes, and why some mothers conclude that staying is the greatest risk of all. Methodology and intent. This is not a channel that blames individual social workers, judges, police officers or professionals. Many people working within the family court system believe they are doing a good job and are acting in good faith within the framework that they are given. Yeah, I heard that so many times. When I describe the system as structurally corrupt, I am not describing the moral character of the people working within it. I am describing a structure that produces predictable harm through its design, incentive and processes, regardless of intent. This investigation examines what the system does, not what people intend. This work is ongoing. I'm documenting what I have found so far, using public material and lived experience. Where facts change, or where I am shown to be wrong on detail, I will correct it. Part 1. Foreknowledge, not panic. Mothers who run are often portrayed as acting suddenly or irrationally. In reality, many are deeply familiar with the system long before they leave. They have reported abuse, sought help, complied with orders, and watched other mothers lose their children. By the time they leave, they are not guessing. They are acting on accumulated knowledge. That knowledge is foreknowledge. Part 2. From criminal proof to family court risk. When allegations of abuse arise, mothers are often told that criminal court requires proof beyond reasonable doubt. Instead, cases are diverted into family court, where decisions are made on the balance of probabilities. Risk is not resolved, it is managed. In that process, risk is often reassigned away from the alleged abuser and onto the mother raising concerns. I have gone through this in my previous podcasts, but this fits in with this Why Mothers Run too. Part 3. Who is seen as manageable? Family courts prioritise manageability. A calm, compliant adult is easier for the system to work with. A distressed or persistent mother may be framed as the source of instability. Once a mother is framed as unmanageable, outcomes become predictable. Part 4. A 200-year reversal. In 1839, the Custody of Infants Act recognised that mothers mattered granting women the right to keep their children until at least age 7. In 2026, children can be removed at birth, not because harm has occurred, but because harm is predicted. For many mothers, this is the moment of realization. Compliance does not equal safety. Part 5. Compliance, Tragedy and Recognition. Claire Throssell. Claire Throssell warned the family courts of risk and complied with court orders. Her sons were killed by their father. Years later, her campaigning was recognised with a national honour. Compliance did not protect her children. Recognition came only after the tragedy. Other mothers acting on foreknowledge to prevent harm are criminalised instead. Part 6. When findings travel. Family court findings do not always remain confined to the family court. In my own case, findings made under a risk management framework were later referenced in criminal sentencing. They were not retested to a criminal standard, but they formed a narrative that travelled. Once a narrative exists, it follows. Part 7. Contradictory state assessments. While in prison, I was assessed by the prison's in-house social work team. There were no mental health concerns, no substance abuse, misuse, and no safeguarding risks. I was considered suitable for a mother and baby unit. At the same time, I was not suitable for rehabilitation programs because I had not harmed anyone. This shows how risk is constructed differently across systems. And I have an addendum here because I suddenly thought of something. While recording this investigation, something became clear to me. When I was in prison, I saw many mothers who retained care of their babies. Some had substance misuse issues. Some had criminal histories. Some lived lives that outside the criminal justice system would often trigger child protection intervention. And yet their children remained with them. The explanation I was given at the time was simple. Drug users can still be good mothers. Which I agree with, totally. What I understand now is that their risk was known. It was documented, it was supervised, it was contained within a framework the system understood. Within the criminal justice system, risk is routinely managed rather than eliminated. Mother and baby units exist within the Ministry of Justice. They operate with clear criteria, oversight and defined responsibilities. Other agencies are involved, roles are allocated, accountability is shared. This does not mean those mothers are better or worse. It means their risk is legible to the system. By contrast, mothers whose risk arises from disputing findings, appealing decisions, or exposing structural flaws do not fit easily into existing frameworks. Their risk is not behavioural, it is institutional. They create uncertainty. And systems tend to respond more harshly to uncertainty rather than to acknowledged difficulty. I'm not claiming this explains every decision or that funding directly drives outcomes, but it does suggest something important. Systems are more comfortable managing known, categorised risk than engaging with contested narratives that challenge their authority. That distinction helps explain why some mothers are supported despite visible difficulties, while others lose everything for refusing to accept the story they are given. 8. Serious risk and public exposure. In some cases, judges authorise the publication of names and photographs on the basis that a mother is a serious risk. Once that label is applied, protections fall away. The label is acted upon, not re-examined. Part 9, I go to public cases. These are all in the public domain. Different women, the same resolution. Samantha Baldwin, she had custody removed and she did not regain it. Her sons were placed with their father. Joanna Dean fled to Canada, was imprisoned. Her child was placed with her father. Rebecca Minnock, another lady that went on the run. A judge ruled her son should live with his father. She has supervised contact. Ellie Yarrow went on the run and did not lose her son. She managed to get a letter onto social media that described all of the abuse that she'd been suffering, and the public got behind her. So she won the court battle. I think public interest was heavily involved in that judge's decision. In each of the cases, apart from Ellie Yarrow's case, the mother was removed from the child's life. The destination differed, the outcome did not. Part 10, international pursuit. In some cases, international mechanisms are used to locate mothers. When they are found, children are removed immediately. The label travels faster than the facts. There's a saying, I'll find the saying out and I will, it's about where a lie travels halfway around the world while the truth is putting on its shoes. And Twain, I think Twain said that. You have to forgive me, I lost all my everything today. All this, I've had to do this work twice over. Part 11. Containment instead of erasure, Northern Cyprus. Some mothers flee to Northern Cyprus where there is no extradition treaty. This is not freedom. It is permanent containment chosen over permanent erasure. They leave behind families, professions and support networks simply to remain with their children. Part 12. When experience becomes foreknowledge. I had already seen how my first child was removed. When I later had a second child, I recognised the same patterns emerging. Ordinary parenting felt dangerous. Using lawful mechanisms to appeal was itself framed as risk. I understood that waiting would allow the pattern to repeat. So I was criticised for not appealing publicly. And when I did try and appeal out of time, using the legal process, as I was advised to do, that was used against me too. Leaving before proceedings began was not panic, it was foreknowledge. My conclusion: women who run are not heroes or villains. They are mothers responding to a system that offers impossible choices. This channel documents patterns, not blame, structures, not personalities. This is mother's nature, and this is why mothers run. Thank you for listening. Post a comment, like, subscribe and share. As you know, I want my channel to grow authentically throughout this year. And I've got more podcasts arranged. I've done more investigation, and the things that I'm finding is just incredible. I'm going to keep dipping back into the history, because that's why I started the channel, the history of custody, and I just find it absolutely fascinating that women that couldn't even vote back in 1839 couldn't vote because the suffragettes were later than that. They still had the right to keep their children until 7 years old. My daughter was taken when she was 6 in 2010. So I will leave you with that, and yeah, I can vote as well, and I can drive a car. Yeah, I don't even think cars existed then in 1839, maybe, I don't know. Computers didn't. I know how to work a computer. So I'm going to go into how our safeguarding powers were eroded. I'm going to go into everything. You just stick with me and we're going to sort all of this out. And we know exactly where everything happened and changed. But yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Bye.